that people usually only see street vendors as a nuisance, and the only way that they try to resolve it is through more enforcement. And at Make the Road, we're trying to flip the script and say that actually they're added value to the community. They're somebody that needs to be integrated and brought to the table and have conversations with, because there's something, there's something extremely valuable by them being in our community. They're workers. They work extremely hard. Some of them are even, in some opportunities, they are employers and employ other individuals. And then the other thing that people seem to forget sometimes about street vendors is that they actually are one of the few places where they provide affordable food for a lot of our communities, and particularly in the low-income working class communities where we work. And I think that's something that people tend to forget, as we all have seen the rise in prices and everything in New York City. The street vendors are meeting a need by really providing high quality, affordable food to a lot of people. And I think that's something that needs to be talked about more. Make the Road in Queens in particular, we are on Roosevelt Avenue, and Roosevelt Avenue is she's there, and it's kind of the ground zero about the street vendor issue and the tensions that exist there. We think that it's really important that one of the things that we've been trying to do there is really help create spaces where street vendors and brick and mortar small business owners actually come together and talk. One of the main things that we have seen is that there's been a lot of misunderstanding just because there has never been that much dialogue. There's usually a lot of tension and people just decide not to talk. And thanks to the work that Nick Petrie, who are small business organizers in the back, and a lot of our members that Make the Road, is that we've been able to create a space for those conversations to happen. And I think when people are allowed to create a space where conversations are happening about what's the best for everybody in the community, we're trying to get to more positive outcomes. And we've been trying to push back on this enforcement-only approach and really think about proactively what can we be doing to really help street vendors thrive. We're super excited about the campaign that the Street Vendor Project is launching. We think it's time. The issue around the fines last year was a huge victory, but now I think we need to take a step further and really try to pass the legislation to ensure that there's more permits being given to street vendors. And that's something that we're going to put all our organizational weight behind. We're super excited about that. 30 years is too long for that. So one of the key things is that we want to make sure that we help build a coalition where the street vendors feel supported, not only by other street vendors, but also for them to be able to see that there's organizations, brick and mortar institutions that are also supportive of them, workers, and the general community. And that's something that we're extremely hopeful to do, and be doing it in 2014. I think the one thing that we also got to make sure is that in these conversations, really continue to elevate and highlight who are these street vendors. We heard the story of Laura, and there's so many more of that story, because I think once people start to know the importance of this, who they are, I'm out of time. That's something that really helps shape the debate. So I'm looking forward to continue to work with the Street Vendor Project, really pushing for this legislation in 2014 and making this happen. Thank you very much.
The Street Vendor Project is a member of the Food Chain Workers Alliance. Currently, we have 22 members nationwide, representing over 280,000 food workers throughout the United States. So food is a big industry. It sells over $1.8 trillion in goods and services annually in the United States. It makes up 13% of the gross domestic product for the United States. So it's huge. It's a big industry, and it continues to grow. And what's really important is understanding we have this big food movement, right? We're so interested in food. We want to make sure we're eating healthy, organic, sustainable. But a lot of times what's missing from that conversation are the workers and the people who are bringing us that food. So for us, it's really important to bring that connection together where, yes, we want healthy food, but also we need to respect the people and the workers who bring us that food every day. And I'm so excited about this project with the Street Vendor Project and about expanding the permits and licensing, because street vendors are an instrumental part of New York City. You know, everyone who comes to New York City wants to get a hot dog from a cart, right? Because it's such a big part of our culture. And I think supporting street vendors is really important to promote local economies and to also create a accepting culture throughout our city. And also there's a lot of incentive to start vending more street vendors with healthier alternatives for people to increase more healthy access to food. So I think in these ways, it's very important for us to support street vendors, and also that street vendors are a big part of a larger movement of food workers. You know, the way we define work has changed in many ways. There's a lot of entrepreneurship, street vendors encompass that, and I think it's important for us to recognize these workers and also to make them part of the conversation, where a lot of times they've been left out of the conversation. And in addition to that, a lot of food workers are people of color and immigrants, and street vendors are also people of color of immigrants and are people who a lot of times are exploited and again excluded from the conversation. I think bringing street vendors into the conversation and food workers in general creates a space for respect and dialogue. So as we move forward in this new economy, is one that's respectful to all and also one that encompasses what we're looking for, right? We want healthy, good food, but also we want to make sure that the people who are producing and selling us that food are treated fairly. Thank you, and I'm excited to continue the conversation.